Hi there, Stampers. This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. Welcome to today's live. Today we are working on a fun fold card that is from book 4 of my fun fold tutorial books. And it is this double fan fold card. And we're going to do this with the lovely arrangements from the January 2026 online exclusives. So let's go ahead and get started. Nope, wrong one. Okay, so here it is in my book. As I often say, I love my books. Even I refer to them. It was a way for me to even just bind them together in a nice, easy to find way. Um, that if I'm looking for a card to make, all my measurements, my diagrams, everything I need to get a card going is in here. And so I was able to pick that fan fold that I had done with a previous stamp set that's long since been retired. I switched up the colors, I switched up the stamp set, and I came up with the same fold, but a whole different card. So this is what we're doing today. I don't have the back on it, but there is a white piece that we would put our inside sentiment on the back. Like I said, I was in a hurry, so I kind of grabbed my book and found one really quickly. I am loving the lovely arrangements stamp set and dies. And the dies at first threw me a little. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with these two, but you'll see we're going to be doing that today, and I really like it. We used it as a background for the white, and even though the die is much smaller than the piece I'm working with, I'm going to show you how I was able to run that through twice and get a continuous pattern. I have started stamping each of my stamp sets when I get them. I take this piece off and then I stamp it onto a scrap of white cardstock that I keep meaning to laminate. Haven't gotten around to that yet. But then I take, when I'm done with my stamping, I take this thinner of the plastic sheets and I place it on my stamped image here. And then I lay down my stamps where they belong on the sheet. So then all I have to do is turn this piece over, line up my remaining stamps, and it's going to pick that one up with the back on it, and then I'm ready to stick it back into the case. The other thing I have done as I have adhered the stamp set to this side and then stamped it over here and did kind of the same thing. It just, I don't know, seemed easier when I did it this way. It's kind of one of those things, we get a new packaging and we all kind of just figure out how to deal with it as we go. And sometimes some ideas are better than others. Sometimes I might like an idea, somebody else might like a different idea, Anyway, for today's card, we're going to start out with a piece of cardstock that is 9 inches by 5.5. And I've scored this at 1.5, 3, 6, and 7.5. And we're going to do some more scoring on that on the sides that you'll see shortly. I'm going to decorate the two sides with designer series paper. So I have two pieces that are 2.5 by 4 3/4. And we're going to cut those so that they fit. For the front of the card, I have a piece of old olive that is 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. And then I have a basic white of the same thing for the back. Then this is 2.5 by 5 that will easily layer over that one. Then I have some scraps of, this is Secret C, crumb cake, basic white. This is going to be all of our focal point on the front. And then I've also got some leaves I've pre-cut out. Okay, so for this card, in order to do the first part, what we want to do is burnish along these score lines. And this is mostly so you guys can see a little better, hopefully, where those lines are, because the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make an X on either side. So one of the ideas I can do is I can stick this top of this 6-inch score line with the bottom corner over here, and I can lay that in my trimmer and then use my scoring tool, my scoring blade, I guess, to score that as an X right down there. So see, the other thing you could do is you could take a ruler and you could do the same thing. I would set this at that point up here, and then the bottom of this score line down here, and then use the take your pick tool, has some stylus ends to it. You can use the end of your bone folder, but the same thing as I'm just going to lay this corner to corner and then make an X. So it all depends on which you prefer. Both of them work. Some people tend to think that the blade itself kind of gets in the way and you can't see, you know, where you're stamping. And so the ruler might be a little easier. Pick which one you like. Okay, then I want these, like the diamond parts, to come up in mountain folds like that. And the rest of them are going to be valleys in here in the X. Then these two will be mountains as well. Okay, so this is a mountain, this is a mountain, and as we push that one down and these up, that's what's giving us this triangle on the back. Okay, have I lost anybody? It's scored, it's let's see, we were at 9 by 5.5, scored at 1.5, 3, 6, and 7.5. And then I made an X on both sides. My X are valley lines, and my straight up and downs are the mountain lines, okay? Then to decorate those triangles on the side, we're going to do something very similar. I'm going to take my 2 side pieces, and I'm going to work on the back because I'm going to use a marker. Hopefully this will work. Haven't used it in a little while. I want something you guys can see. And I'm going to go corner to corner. Well, of course, that's not working. There we go. And this is okay on the back because this is going to be the side we glued down. So nobody's going to really see that. But I'm going corner to corner. There we go. Then I'm also going to go straight down the middle. So because this is, let's see, 2.5, I'm going to come up here at 1 1/4. So I'm using my grid paper and the numbers across the top. So my 0 is here in the middle, and I'm at 1 1/4 on both sides. Then I'm once again going to take my ruler and I'm going to run it down the middle. And so I'm lying it on my grid paper, and then I'm going to go straight down. Come on. almost there. Come on. Okay, so this is what I want to end up cutting. Okay, you can do this on the trimmer. You can do it with paper snips. It doesn't really matter. You can do the two of them together, or you can do them separate. So I'm going to lay this in here again at 1 1/4. That's going to put that middle line right there. And then I can come in with these. And once again, I'm keeping them square and then running that line down my track here. Okay, so this is the side we're going to glue down and see from the front. So none of those silver lines are going to show up at all. It's all going to be buried in the back. And I didn't draw with the pen when I made my sample, but I thought it would be good for you guys to be able to see a little better what we're doing with this. Okay, so these were my two pieces. And then they're going to decorate on here. So this one's going to fit right in there. And this one's going to fit here. And this one we're going to flip around and it's going to go there and there. Oops. And then these can only go one way because of the angle that they're at. You'll notice if you lay it down and it's wrong, see it's not quite fitting that way, that it's going to have to go up here. Okay, so let's iron this out a little bit and glue these down real quick. And I'm going to use our liquid glue for a little bit of wiggle time. So I can kind of keep an eye on my score lines so that I'm centered in there. Is anybody's weather warming up, or are you still all freezing? It got a little warmer this week for us here in Idaho, but we're supposed to get snow on Monday, so it's not lasting for long. Oh, thank you, Janet. My birthday is tomorrow. You know, at this age, I'm not super excited about it, but hopefully my husband will take me out to dinner or something nice. I usually just get a text from the kids. Oh, come on. Where's this one going to go? Let's go over here. Yep. Like I said, these triangles only go one way. So if I was pre-filming, this is where I would fast forward. Almost there. This wasn't something I could really do ahead of time because you wouldn't see how to cut it. Ooh, more snow. Ugh. I think the East Coast is getting hammered. We've had a really mild winter as far as snowfall this year. But it's been really, really cold. Okay, now that I've got this one on, and you can see that all of my gaps, I guess, are all even. This one, they're not. So I wanted to point out this one, I cut it 5 inches by the 2.5 instead of the 4 3/4. And then when I did the X and put it all together, they're not quite right. So keep an eye on that. If the pieces are not fitting, then it may be that your original piece wasn't the right size. So double check that. I'm going to go ahead and put this one down because this is going to go straight down. This is our old olive for the center here. Okay, but then I want this white to lay over the top of it, and I want this to kind of be an eyelet pattern. So I'm going to bring in my die cutting, and I'm going to grab that die. And I kind of want to find the middle of this. So this is, let's see, 5 inches. So at 2.5, that's going to be my middle point. This time I'm going to use a pencil because we can see that on white. But I'm just kind of making a mark where the middle is, and then that's how I'm going to line up my die, is I'm going to kind of center it, and then I'm making it even with that mark. Okay, so I'm going to run it through like this. Okay, so this did half of it. Now I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to go the other way, and I'm going to center it on the other half, and I'm going to run it through that way. So that's going to give me my overall holes all over. Oops. So I should have used the die brush. I need to poke out some of our little holes here. And really, I don't need to do all of them because the flowers are kind of going to cover up those ones in the middle there. But the take your pick tool, the die brush, any one of those things will poke these little thingies out. I also wonder, somebody asked me about a sticky mat, and I wasn't really sure what that was. I have one for my positioning tool. I have the sticky grid mat. Let's see what it's called. Sticky grid sheets, and they are for my stamp positioner. But I wonder if there's one for the die cutting machine that would kind of hang on to all these little pieces. Like, wouldn't that be cool if you could run this through and all this little stuff would stick? Okay. So that now is ready to put right here. And see how pretty that is? And you can't like really even tell that the die wasn't the right size because those are all so random that it just kind of works. Okay, so I'm just going to find some spots in here. And this one I'm laying down flat because I'm going to give the flowers a little bit of lift. But this looks really cool if you put dimensionals under it because it allows some light to pass underneath and kind of makes those holes like pop a little more. Okay, the next thing I want to do is stamp those flowers. And so I showed you guys the other day the new stamp positioning tool that Stampin' Up made. So this is it. This is a new positioning tool we just created, and it's only available to people who sign up to get a starter kit with Stampin' Up. You would get $125 worth of product for $99, and then they're going to add this stamp positioner on there for free. We keep asking when it's going to be added to our line, and we're told it will be added. We just don't know when. So that's kind of a bummer. They said they wanted to wait long enough that this felt really exclusive. So anybody who wants this positioner right now needs to sign up. Okay, so I had die cut the holes out of a piece of scrap the other day. And now I'm placing my flowers in those holes. And then I'm going to die cut my flowers out of some scrap pieces. Now we were told by Stampin' Up to push the piece of paper up here into this angle. There is a little indentation line there, but I found it shifts a little. So at first I got out the little magnet thinking, okay, I just need more magnets. I mean, I love the ones that Stampin' Up gave us. I like the little flip on them. They're much easier to grab than our old Stamparatus ones. But then I also thought one of the things is when I very first stamp them, I'm going to ink them up with my Secret C ink pad. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp them straight into the hole. And that's going to show me where this is going to land. So now I know if I shift this a little, you know, that one's going to fit a little better. So if this ever shifted on me in the midst of my stamping, all I would need to do is come back in and shift this mat to where the images line up, because I know that's exactly where these are going to stamp, regardless of where the mat is. So then I'm going to take my blanks and I'm going to fit them into the holes. I'm inking this up again. And there we go. So there is our 2 flowers. Now remember, when you're lining these up in here, I was kind of going at a little bit of an angle, but you're going to get your best alignment if you look straight down from the top. Stand up if you have to, but it's going to work better if you get the right angle on it. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean these off right away because I don't want them to stain. And that's one of the reasons why I started out cutting my Simply Chamois into 4 pieces, is because it was so much easier to clean things off of the plates. There is a second plate that I use for repeat stamping because you can move it down the pegs. So if you're wondering about more that you can do with the positioner, then you want to check out my YouTube channel. I did do a whole video dedicated to just that. Oh, we're going to do a little more die cutting, and we're going to have an extra trick we need to do, because these little things I thought were too big. When it die cut them, originally, it was really long, and it was actually too long for the word happy birthday. So what I did was I went ahead and die cut this one. So let's pull down my book. I'm going to set it on the silicone mat for a little extra grip. And then I'm going to die cut the 2 of them in the shapes they come in. So as is, I'm just going to run that through there. Okay, now this one, when I stamp happy birthday on there, like I said, it's going to be a little long, but it's fairly squared off at the end, so I can snip that down with some scissors. We're going to be good. But this one has this really rounded edge, and it's going to be hard to go back in and cut that and get that same rounded edge. I mean, you could come in like this, and you could probably, you know, draw a line, follow your line. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it back in my machine, and I'm going to lay my paper in there so that it's in between, so the sides are not getting cut, but it's going to cut a new end to it. Okay, so it's going to shorten this thing up. It doesn't need to be by much, but it's going to be enough that it's going to make a difference. And I probably would want to stick it down with a Post-it note, but I don't have one handy, so I'm going to wing it. We'll hope this works. But the idea is I'm setting the die down onto my already die cut shape and moving the end down. So it's cutting some off and making it shorter. Okay. So grab those stamps once again. And I want the happy birthday. a line on my paper, align my block, keep this straight. Now this is a white and I'm going onto a white. And so in order to help me see better, I'm going to put any kind of color underneath it so it will differentiate. So when I come in to stamp, I know exactly where my paper is and I'm not going off of it. Okay, so there's my happy birthday. Like I said, I want it shorter. So then I can nip this off and then it's going to fit on there a lot better. So, and we can do that with any number of our dies. If you wanted to change the shape of it, you can also extend it. If I wanted to make this a longer cut instead of the shorter cut, what I would want to do is cut the paper so that it's the right thickness for in there. So this needs to be a little thinner, but I think you're following me here. I would cut the paper to be the thickness of whatever this is between here and here, but I want to feed this up this way. And now I'm going to cut it, and it's only going to cut this end. It's not going to cut this end. See, because my cutting blade is down here. So if I run this through, it's going to cut this end, but not this end. Then I can come back in later and do the reverse and cut the other end. So it would then be longer. But we'll do that in another video. This one I needed shortened. But I wanted you to know it goes both ways. You can adjust them. Takes a little bit of extra work, but it does do it. Okay, now I want to arrange these to go on the front of my card. And with flowers, I'm not really a florist, so it takes me a little while and a little bit of extra something to lay them out to where I feel like they look okay. And so I'll play around with them quite a bit before I'm ready to glue them down. So I'll think, okay, do I want it to go this way? Do I want my partial one in the middle? Do I want it at the bottom? And so I'll, play around with it, try to figure out what I'm doing. I think I liked that flower coming out from behind there. We're going to have these go on top of it. Could put our leaves underneath. We're just kind of playing around, deciding what we like and where everything's going to go. And then after I have it all decided where I want to go, I'm going to come in with a piece of press and seal from my kitchen. Hopefully you guys are familiar with that stuff. It's kind of like plastic wrap, but it's got little sticky things on the bottom that helps it seal. So once I've got everything all arranged, I'm like, okay, I really like that. That's how I want it to all lay down. I'm going to bring in that press and seal. And I'm going to put it sticky side down onto my project. And it'll pick all of that up, keeping my arrangement, so that now I can come to the back side and I can start gluing these down and keeping my arrangement of how everything goes. Okay, most often I come in with my dimensionals, and I'm going to go over seams. So kind of where they overlap, that's where I'm putting some of my dimensionals so that it's kind of gluing things down. Okay, I might also want to come in with maybe some glue dots. I can kind of remember where these go. So I know that one kind of went there. This one kind of pointed down this way. So are you following me here? Because I had it all the way I liked it. The other over here, the press and seal kind of holds it all together and keeps my arrangement. So now I can come in and peel off the backings. And then it's going to be ready to stick down onto my card front. Okay, now this one, because I want this on top, I don't have a dimensional on this side because there's already a dimensional under my flower. So I just want this to just touch on the top of the flower. So I've got a mini glue dot on this side and my dimensional on the other side. And that's going to make everything even. Come on. Okay, so are there any questions? Because now we're down to all I have to do is stamp the back, and I'm just going to do something quick and easy with that. I always like it to kind of match the front of my card. So I'm going to come in with, one of the flowers, and then I'm just going to do the corners. This is kind of my go-to. And then we can decide if there is, will that fit? Let's see. There should be an inside saying. I don't know if always here for you is the right thing for a birthday card. There's sending smiles, we can do that. Okay, and you may have noticed that this is the stamp set that the Paper Craft Collective used for the free with purchase. So if you place an order with me, you will get the PDF tutorial for cards that I made one of, and then we have 7 others. So there's 8 different patterns in there, but you have to cut everything yourself. And I've been asked, it's a lot of work, so I haven't done it in a while, but I am doing a new class where I pre-cut all the material for you. So you will get everything pre-cut and set in envelopes that all you have to do is watch the video and read the PDF tutorial to make all 6 of these cards. So you will get the material to make 2 of each of the cards as part of my online class. So this is for sale right now. I've got it in my newsletter. I sent out a newsletter for it yesterday, and you have until the 15th of the month to register. It is $49 for the 12 cards, all pre-cut. You can add on the stamp set, the ink pads, anything you need to go with it at kind of a discount, because I'm not charging you tax and shipping. I'm kind of eating that end of it. so that you have everything that you need to make all 6 designs. And if you just want the PDF tutorial and the videos, you can get that for $25. So that's what's happening here in my studio. So thank you everyone for the birthday wishes and for being here and making today's card with me. I hope that you give it a try. It looks complicated, but it's really not. Hopefully today's video was easy enough for you to follow along and you will make one of your very own. Thank you so much. Bye.